Good morning. It is such a great day to have synchronicity. I am so excited to finally connect with our next guest. I was not sure if this was going to happen, but the stars have aligned and we have connected with the co-owner of Ignite Sadhana, and that's Peter. Good morning, Peter. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Sorry I left you hanging last Monday. I totally forgot and I slept in. It was supposed to happen right now, like you said,
Yep.
synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
This is better than work.
This is when it was supposed to happen. And now we are here. And I'm so humble that you joined us today. And we are all waiting to learn so much about you and your practice. So let's just dive right in. Tell us about yourself.
So I'd say about 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know, who knows, timelines. We started a business where we started leading primarily Wim Hof Method. I mean, we do a ton of different stuff, but that's most what we're known for. And for those who don't know Wim Hof Method, this is about tapping into your body and as well optimizing your physiology through intense breath work and cold exposure. So what we usually do is we bring people out for a 3 to 4 hour workshop. We explain all the science behind what's going on in the body, what's going on in the nervous system, how your physiology is changing when we do these practices. We do some breathing, and then we get these giant tubs of ice, and we get everyone to sit in the ice all the way down to their neck, 33-degree water for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And most of the time people come with this, like, kind of this curiosity. They were led there, someone dragged them there or something like that. And they're like, okay, I just wanted to come to learn about it, maybe do some breath work, but I'm not doing the ice. And inevitably, every single person gets in the ice and everyone can do the ice. Everyone is able to just tap into their gifts. We all have these gifts, these abilities to grapple with nature, if you will. And it's this surprising thing. It's to me, I always see it as it breaks a paradigm in your brain. We have these ideas, these stories in our mind that we're like, Peter can do that, Wim Hof can do that, so and so can do that, but not me. They're different than I am. And breaking through that and realizing that we all have these capabilities, that we're all powerful creatures on the earth. And so you step into it and you kind of tap into that power. And it's always fun to see because everyone can do it.
Wow. So what does that promote, right? Going into the ice in 33-degree temperature up to your neck. What may happen from that?
Well, I mean, a lot of times, especially like on social media, and the reason why this practice is popular is because of like the body hacking, what's going on, the health benefits and things like that. There's all these health benefits. It's anti-inflammatory. It's really good for your cardiovascular system, for example. So cardiovascular diseases are the number one root cause of diseases. I believe in the world. It might just be in the Western world, but anyway, so this process, I mean, just to name one of the few, you get in there and all your blood rushes to your core. You hear about people when they get frostbite, right? Their fingers and their toes turn black and fall off. It's because your body's making this intuitive, smart decision, pretty much. It's saying, all right, it's really cold out here. I have a finite amount of blood. Let me send it all to the core organs. Let me protect the most important things in my bodies. You can live without your fingers, your toes, your hands, and your feet, but you can't live without your stomach or your heart or your lungs and all that stuff. So your body makes this smart decision, sends all the blood in there. Then when you get out of the ice after 2 minutes, all the blood rushes back to your extremities. That's a process that your body's not really accustomed to. We never have to do that. We have all these tools and temperature controlled environment, your heating, gloves, everything that do that process for you. So we start outsourcing all of our capabilities. And when you think about it, we do that with a lot of things. Your body has all these, I like to call them superpowers, but we give them away. We're like, well, I don't know. I'm going to let the gloves do it, or I don't need to remember phone numbers. I'm going to let my cell phone do that and all that. And these skills begin to atrophy, right? So by doing these sort of practices, we tap back into them and reignite those powers. But back to the cardiovascular system, all that blood rushing in and out from your core out to your extremities. There's if you put your blood vessels end to end, it would wrap around the world 2.5 times. There's
Wow.
this complex highway system going to every corner of your body. Now think of like a flowing river, right? A healthy river is flowing and moving. And not healthy river would have blockages in it. And then when that water begins to stagnate and pool, it's kind of not necessarily a healthy river. So we kind of open everything up, send blood throughout the entire body, fresh, warm, white blood cells. And this whole process is equivalent to, I don't know, doing a HIIT workout or doing 20 minutes of cardio. And you're doing that in 2 minutes. So that's one of the main things I tell people. I'm like, this is the best bang for your buck. If you want to, if you don't have that much time in your life, just set up a nice tub. It's about 2 minutes in, 2 minutes to warm up, and then you're good to go. I mean, I could go on for a while about the physiological benefits and all that, but the main thing is how you feel afterwards. When people get in the ice and they're like, oh man, this is crazy. And I'm like, just relax in there, and everyone's able to relax. And I tell them to remember how they're going to feel the rest of the day, because your body's experiencing this, what it interprets as a near-death experience. And when you get out on the other side, there's this huge endorphin release. There's this huge feeling of well-being, all this chemical release going on in your body. And I always tell students, you can go into the ice feeling any sort of way. I'm angry, I'm mad at my fiance, or I'm frustrated or anxious or whatever it is. You get in there and you can't think about that. You have to zoom right in to this one moment. So this idea of being right in the moment, you don't have a choice, because the ice is this powerful, stressor.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're fine almost. You've rewired your chemistry. You've changed your chemistry. The last thing, because this you seem like kind of a spiritual person, and this is the one that I think you'd want to hear the most. Yeah, is you're creating space. You're creating space between your stressor and your reaction to a stressor. So you get in the ice, right? And what's happening in your nervous system is your sympathetic nervous system spikes really high, and automatically you're going to start showing that in the body. You're going to start breathing fast. All these things start happening. And everything in your mind, everything in your being is going to be like, get the hell out of there. This is crazy, blah, blah, blah. Because at that point in the workshop, we've built trust with you, and your people trust us at that point, hopefully, that you stay in the ice. And so what happens is your brain realizes, I can't get this person out of the ice. The second thing your body might do is shiver. Shivering is not gonna do the trick here. Your body chooses shivering because it uses the least amount of energy. Your body's always saving energy for something big. Who knows? Maybe a famine, or a robber, or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Our bodies are intuitive. So your body has to believe that this is the point in time that it needs to use the goods. It's like, you've seen people in adrenaline-laced situations. They've been able to lift cars off loved ones or fight off bears and all that. The brain and the mind has to believe that that's actually happening for us to tap into those resources. So you sit in the ice, that adrenaline spikes, and if we can wait, and if we can trust our bodies, then it passes. And then your body turns on its deep capability. So all this magic happens. Your metabolism goes up to 300%. Your intercostal muscles begin to produce all this heat and pressing it out into the body. This brown fat begins to activate. And I say all that not to talk about the body hacking, but to say, when we create space between a stressor and our reaction to a stressor, is this beautiful moment. And we're not used to doing it. Someone cuts you off, you immediately freak out. Something happens. We have these tendencies on how do we react in a situation when something stressful happens. This is strengthening the muscle of saying, like, okay, I see that happening. Let me relax. I feel all these emotions, let them pass, and then we can make a proper decision. And the decision is like, you know what? I'm going to stay in the ice because this is medicine.
Oh my God. I am in love with that. So it's teaching us, even beyond the ice, to give that pregnant pause, right? And when a stressful situation ignites, not to react, right? Not to do that knee-jerk reaction, but to wait and then have that moment of clarity as far as what we need to do next. Am I capturing that correctly?
Exactly. And you being someone who probably works with people's traumas and such, there's a deep fear connected to the cold with people. There was with me. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be fucking awesome to go do, conquer the cold, before I was an instructor and when I was figuring out how to do this stuff. And I went on one of these retreats, and as soon as it's like, okay, today we're going to go out and we're going to sit in the ice for 5 minutes or something, like all this fear starts bubbling up inside of you. It's deeply embedded in our DNA to have this healthy fear of the cold and the winter. And like, when you think about the memory of our cells, remembers, winter meant death. Winter meant, famine. Winter meant like a tough time in the human experience. So that's all embedded in us. Yeah, pain. And so different people have different levels, obviously, but some people you can really see that this pain is connected to something deeper. So tapping into that pain and conquering it, I believe, and especially with the breath work as well, can help you approach other fears and can help you rewire your relationship with trauma or your deeply embedded fears that you don't even know are there. You don't, like, some people, they're like, I didn't realize I was going to be that afraid of this. They come in like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Then when it's time to walk out, they're like, whoa, I don't know, man, So it's like, it's this process of approaching things that we may not have known existed inside of us.
So Peter, how would it go? So would it be day one, I come and meet with you and I go right in the ice? Or is it we build up to that point?
I mean, typically our workshops are like 3 to 4 hours, and on that day you'd get in the ice. Like if we were doing some sort of privates, we don't do that many privates just because people ask me, they're like, hey, can we do some privates? I'm like, if you just come to a workshop, you'll be fine. And it's one of those weird things. Like, I probably make more money doing privates with people, but I'm like, no, you don't even need that. It's like I said earlier, it's all in us. Like, we all can just hop in the ice if we just sit down. And especially the group, the workshop, it's a group experience. This is something I harp on a lot. I'm like, we have the power to do things when we're with other people on a deeper level. And I think that's harnessed a bit in the workshop experience. So there's 10 people and we're all going in there together. And there's this bonding that happens. Like I said, maybe your body interprets it as a near-death experience, and you get through this near-death experience together. So almost everyone's cheering you on.
Yeah.
Even on a maybe higher level. So I help Wim Hof on his retreats. So I was helping him out on this retreat in Spain. And these are all new practitioners, never done this shit before. And he's asking them to get in an ice bath for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And he told them that's what he's going to ask of them that afternoon. And I can feel the anxiety in my group. And I'm saying, look, you guys are all going to do it, and you're going to do it because you have 120 people cheering you on. You're never going to have the opportunity where there's going to be 120 people playing drums and, being there with you to help carry you through a 15-minute ice bath. That's powerful. We're social creatures. We need each other to get through shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the group experience is nice. But yeah, anyone can do this on their first time. They might not be as successful, or it might be harder than they think it would be, but then everyone can take to this. At the same time, it never gets easy. Like, I've been doing this for years. I look at the ice and I'm like, God damn it.
Not the ice. Yeah. Oh my God, this sounds so symbolic. It sounds amazing. What does it mean to have a conversation with one's deeper self? How would that translate?
I think it's a good question because it kind of relates to all this. I mean, we're layered beings. and like the yogic scriptures. I'm a yogi also, we teach like Kundalini yoga and Vinyasa yoga, and we're into all that philosophy.
Yes, my tribe.
Yeah. So, but we're layered beings, like we focus on the physical layer because that's what we can see, that's what we can experience, and that's what we know, and that's what we can understand. And even more so, deeper than past iterations of cultures, we're so fixated on what we can see, what we can measure, what we can name. It's very Western. If we can't see it, it probably doesn't exist. That's how pretty much our world works. But if we're part of the same tribe, I suppose, we know that we're layered beings. We have the physical, we have an emotional layer, a spiritual layer, energetic layer, and all those kind of lay on top of each other. So tapping deep into one, which I think we're doing with the physical, activates different parts of ourselves, and we see ripple effects through the different layers of our beings. So as we go to the fringes of what we think our human experience is, we're able to gain a better conversation with our bodies. Let's say have the people nowadays look at their bodies as almost this hostile thing, almost like, oh no, my body's going to get sick and kill me, or this is a paradigm that needs to be broken. Your body is here to work with you, to keep you safe, to protect you, and we need to get better at bending with it and understanding it and building our intuition, and in that way we can live healthier lives, obviously. But I think all that goes into the conversation, the meditation, the clearing the mind, the sovereignty, the seeing where your edges are and approaching them and dancing with them. And then you've done breath work, you mentioned. Oftentimes you see parts of yourselves that you might perceive as negative, or you might see as, the shadow side of you. All that's a part of you. So all this is integrating this giant whole of you, the whole spectrum of yourself, and bringing it in and accepting it all, as opposed to only accepting what you can see, or only accepting what you think is good, the version of you that you think people find most attractive or something like that. It's early and I feel like I'm rambling, but
no, you are you are doing great. So embracing all parts of you.
I think that, what was the question? Conversation with yourself? Yeah. I mean, how else would you have a conversation with yourself? If we were having a conversation, I'm ignoring half the words you're saying, or if there's three of us in the room and we're ignoring a third person, what kind of conversation is that? We need to invite all parts of ourselves, the perceived positive and the negative, into the conversation. And I'd say that's how we get understanding. And yeah, that's gonna be my answer to the question.
I love
I'm gonna go with that.
I love it. So could you explain ancient breath work or ancient breath practice and tell us, why is that important?
Yeah, it kind of piggybacks off your last question, because the ancients knew that there was more than just the physical, right? So, and we know it too. We have intuitions, or we have inklings of the unseen, let's say, and that sounds kind of esoteric. But so I studied anthropology in college, and every culture all over the world would, in the Amazon and in different places, they had psychedelic drugs and stuff to reach these heightened states and to reach these trance-like states and do what they believed to be communicating with the gods, let's say. But not everyone in the world had that, so in India, they started using all these practices, all these yogic practices. In, let's say, the Arctic, they don't have any kind of psychedelic drugs or anything like that. They would put themselves in a dark tent and play drums until they reached a trance-like state, and the shaman was able to start talking to the gods. Or in, rites of passage through pain. You think like the sun dance of the Sioux, if you ever heard of that. This is kind of a more intense one, where they would I think they'd fast and do sweat lodges for 3 days on end, but they put a big pole they built a tree, I guess out of sticks, and then they tie ropes to it and put hooks around their chest and walk away from the tree. So it seems to me, and that's a long-winded way of saying humans were figuring out how to tap into different layers of themselves in a lot of different ways. And breath work is one of those. Breath work is one of those things that they figured out. And that's one that seems to span across all cultures. All cultures have some form of breath work, and started realizing how much that connects to everything else. And almost in a symbiotic way. It's you'll see interpretations of breath work as like in and out, the rhythm of the world, waves coming in, waves going out. And then it has this symbiotic relationship with the brain too. Inhales being consistent with the sympathetic, exhales being consistent with the parasympathetic. And we keep on extrapolating that out and out and out. It's almost like the breath is the micro of maybe masculine and feminine energy in the universe, or dark and light in the universe. And breathwork is getting really popular nowadays. And there's all these different versions of it. But I always think about, I'm like, there's only fucking a couple ways to do it, man. You got your nose, your mouth, you can go fast or slow, or but somehow all these humans came up with all these different ways to tap into the breath. And when I try different ones, they all kind of open different little doors in the brain and access points to different places. So I guess to answer your question more succinctly, is this ancient breath practice is another one of those tools that humans intuitively came up with to access this really important part of the human experience. Because it seems like throughout history, humans didn't just want to live in the physical. They wanted to expand out and tap into this world that they were drawing inspiration from, or they used to guide them, to evolve maybe, or, there could be all these different interpretations as to why all these humans were using breath work. But it seems like it's really fucking important. It's just, it's important for something, or we would have stopped. I had this thought about, I was doing an ecstatic dance event with some other facilitators recently, and I'm like, teenagers, I mean everyone, but I was thinking teenagers, they have all these like fads go in and out. They don't want to do what their parents are doing. They don't want to do something new. The one thing they never stop doing, man, they never stop dancing, man. Humans never stop dancing. There must be something really important. We're shaking off energy, we're doing a somatic release. We're doing something. There's certain things that never go out of style, and because they're a part of what humans do, or maybe what humans need to do to survive in their environment.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. Good stuff. And one thing while you were talking, I was thinking that it seems like just intuitively as humans, we know that there's something bigger, right? And we're always looking for ways to experience more than just this physical, right? And so whatever way we can get to it, whether it's through breath work, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through mindfulness, how do we experience that nirvana while we're in this physical form? And so even as you were talking, going back to ancient modalities, that's what they were continuing to strive for, as to how do we get to this state of godliness. And I think that just continues to recycle itself, right? Like you said, there's only a few ways to do breath work, but it continues to reinvent itself because individuals are still looking for ways to achieve that feeling of something bigger than just what we're experiencing on this tangible, like, life and earth form, right? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And sometimes I think like maybe if there wasn't, because there's an energy out there in Western society that isn't into all this stuff. But if this didn't start bubbling up, then maybe the culture dies. Maybe there needs to be this balance of this, so we know all the cultures who practice breath work, but maybe the other ones that didn't, just disappeared into dustbin of history,
Yeah.
like we need to do it to survive. We need to have spiritual practice to survive, or we're too far into the logical, too far
Mhm.
into the masculine side of the brain, let's say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely good stuff. So, how would you, or how does one push the mind, body, and spirit, and what outcomes could you expect from that practice?
I mean, I guess what we were just saying is there's so many different ways, right? There's all these different ways that humans came up with it. It When I look at them, they all seem like getting closer to death, which is a bit morbid, but like I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So I think about an ice bath as a near death experience, and another one that we're doing on a retreat that we have coming up is a sweat lodge. Have you ever done a sweat lodge? It's like, oh yeah, it's like a sauna. No, no. Sometimes it could be so hot that you think you're gonna die, pretty much.
Gosh.
Um, and you come out the other side, and there's this clarity, there's this release. And so you mentioned anxieties at the beginning. I don't know if that was on the video or if that was before we started recording, but most people are experiencing anxieties or some form of depression and all this stuff, so they're not living in the present, right? there's
Yeah.
that there's that I don't know if it's a quote or if it's just what something people say, is if you have anxieties, you're living in the future. If you have depression, you're living in the past.
Yes. Yep.
But you need to be living in the moment. Um, Once you face something as large as death, then you have to live in the present. You know what I mean? And then you gain this understanding of, oh, that doesn't matter because I'm this mortal being, like and end of the day, you're able to see things like zoomed out from this macro perspective. Like if you were sitting at your own funeral, you
Mm.
wouldn't be thinking about half of the anxieties you have or half of the depression that you have. You would be thinking of like this wholeness of this being, and how they affected the world through, maybe this podcast or whatever it is. You'd be able to focus in on what's really important. But we get distracted, we start chasing butterflies and trying to make money, or trying to, meet the right person, or sometimes we don't even know why we're chasing something. People are running and you start racing with them, and
Don't even know why you're running.
yeah. So getting that clarity is it helps us like reset our navigation. And where the fuck am I going? What do I really want in life? What do I think is important? What do I think is integral to who I want to be or how I want to be remembered? And I think that clarity is really important. Especially nowadays, our brains are being hijacked every time we look at our cell phone. You know what I mean? So it's almost something we got to keep on going back to. All cultures have had versions of death practices, if you will, like rite of passages. When you think about it, Native Americans would send, a 13-year-old boy on like a vision quest. They'd have to go out into the forest, and we think about that as like, oh yeah, they're walking in the forest. No, that shit is dangerous. They were out there with animals. They didn't know if they were going to get killed all by themselves. And getting that brings a certain level of maturity. That brings a certain level of like understanding of who you are.
Mhm.
I read a book recently that said the argument was that because our society lacks those sorts of rites of passages, which were embedded in all early cultures, we're all still living in childhood psychology.
Wow.
All of our leaders are all little boys trying to, not knowing their way in the world because they haven't been really challenged. Like you get challenged with stuff, but to challenge your mortality brings out a certain level of integrity that's needed for leadership and true decision making.
Mhm.
Anyway, just
Mm.
going off on a tangent.
Really? No, good stuff. Definitely good stuff. I had a question about it, but I'll keep it. I'll save it. Right. And I want to ask you. So a client is listening, or a potential client is listening to this, and they're like, "Yes, I need this in my life." What could they expect in working with you?
So it depends on like in what capacity you'd want to come work with me or us. Um, the workshop, the workshop is a good starting point. I don't think that's where you have to start off, but we do a bunch of different events. But a workshop is a nice kind of synopsis, like a foundation to this whole practice of breathing and ice and stuff like that. You get in, we give you everything, all the knowledge that we think you might need to continue this, and you're gonna make it through. You're gonna have the experience. The breath work is gonna be very powerful. You might have some strong emotional releases. Is very natural in this process, and then you'll come out the other side and you'll be successful. A deeper way to work with us, what we think is the best version of hanging out with me and Jason, is going on one of our retreats. We go up to Maine. We're going up in March, and we go to this property where everyone stays in a yurt or a cabin. So these little miniature yurts or cabins that you got to heat up yourself through wood burning stoves. So you feel very close to nature. And then we do all kinds of stuff. We do a lot of Kundalini yoga. We do a lot of breathing. We do a lot of Dharma talks and things like that. And we walk on coals. And I think really a lot of people need a break. Even if we just went up there and just didn't do anything, even if you just went up to the woods and didn't do shit, you'd probably need it. But we kind of work on breaking down some layers, and that's a really good starting point for life. That was like maybe what did it for me. I went on a retreat in Poland, and climbed a mountain in my shorts and did all this crazy stuff. And that was the beginning of my path, pretty much. Right now, Jason and I kind of bounce around and we do different events in the city. You're out in like Bala Cynwyd, no?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're doing something out there, a breath work and a sound healing event kind of soon. I can send it your way afterwards.
Please
But
do.
but yeah, we kind of mix up a lot of different energies, sometimes like some really robust power yoga or hit workouts and stuff like that. We don't want to, neither of us want to seem too, we want to be approachable. We don't want to be like, oh, we're these spiritual guys that you can't do what we do. We want to invite everyone in. If you're into masculine kind of energy working out, then we'll do that too. Or we also enjoy the feminine practices of very deep meditation and submission, you know.
Yeah. I love it. One of the philosophies of my practice is self-love, right? I meet a lot of individuals and they are in so much pain, right? They're like, my dog left me, my mom hates me, my brother walked out on me, right? They're just in so much pain, right? And they have this almost core belief of hatred for themselves that we have to kind of break through before we can have any type of breakthrough. So I say that all to set you up for my next question. How would you explain self-love? What does that mean to you?
I guess I would see it as complete acceptance of it all. And so a lot of time recently my brain has been playing with this idea of seeing things in the micro and the macro. I might spoke to that a little bit earlier. Because I look at the world and it's crazy, right? It's a crazy time we're living in. No way around that. Let's not beat around the bush. But, you know, and I think with the debate and the tribalism going on, people like, it's almost like we want to control all these things. We want to look at all these different energies and all these forces in the world. And we want to be like, well, if we got rid of that and we only had this, then everything would be, you know, we can find this homeostasis or something. But it brings me to like Taoist ideas that both sides have to exist. Like if it was all white and it was all light, then it's nothing, right? Or if it's all black and there's no light at all, it's nothing. That's just a blank sheet of paper pretty much. So both sides of ourselves have to exist. And to me, self-love would be the complete acceptance of all that. But you can't accept it all without exploring it, without knowing what it is and knowing why it exists. A lot of times at the beginning of breath work, I'm like, so things might come out during breath work, but all of it is you. All of it exists in you for a reason. You know, we talk about physiology and everything in the body having an intuitive reason for existing in you. It's the same thing with all the parts of our emotions and our trauma and all that. They exist for some maybe, you know, some reason to protect us maybe. or some, coping mechanism or something like that. I'm sure you talk about this sort of thing. Um,
Mhm.
so all those things exist for a reason. Um, and on the one hand, not to victimize ourselves and go into the that far energy, woe is me, and
Yes.
don't go too far into the energy of, you know, everything is my responsibility. There's this meeting point in between that that everything is not your fault, but at the same time, you have to take responsibility for everything that's in your life. You are the sovereign being that's in control of things. So it's seeing it all of it, all that crazy shit. We're going back to the macro perspective of the world, looking at out and say, okay, all I can do is take care of me. And so on the one hand, we look at ourselves and say, like, who am I? I don't have any control over anything in life. But we do, right? Like like individually, we do affect people around us. And it's like saying one cell in my body doesn't matter. It doesn't, but it does, because every drop in the bucket matters. Like every part of ourselves matters. And, so we have to believe it that way. I've tried to adopt this idea recently that everything you do matters,
Mhm.
as opposed to the other extreme would be nihilistic, would say like nothing matters, which a lot of people nowadays seem to adopt that idea. I'm like, no, let's do the extreme opposite and say everything I do matters, and let that be the starting point. And
Yeah.
and whether or not it's true or not, that's a whole debate. But I think it does enrich your life to accept it all, and say that it all matters, and that you know you do have agency, you do have control, and you need to you know approach the world that way. Every conversation, you're affecting someone's day. you know
Mhm.
we're sharing energy.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. What stress reduction techniques do you currently utilize, Peter?
Well, I got this 15-month-old baby, so I don't even know if the ones that I have are working right for the first one. It's a whole transition for me. I thought I had it all figured out, and then life throws you these curveballs.
Yeah.
um
That brings it all in perspective.
Yeah, yeah. The ice bath is definitely one of them, because I can do it so quick. Because you don't have time to do all the things that you're used to doing. Um, so hot and cold therapy are big. I have like an individual sauna, one person sauna that I'll get in there. That's a big one. And the cold exposure, that's like a 5-minute thing before I have to go to work. Hop in the ice every day. That rewires you.
Mm.
Um, so the one thing I will say is, a lot of times in the yoga community, in the meditation community, we're so fixated on using these really powerful practices like yoga and breath work and meditation to solve our problems. But one of the main ones that I think is important for me is diet and sleep. Like it's the real simple ones. So this month, you know, completely clean, nothing, no marijuana or alcohol or, low sugar, all that stuff to kind of cleanse out my body, go through random detoxes usually throughout the year. So, fast and really take care of your diet and things like that. That's your starting point. And then
Yeah.
from there, you begin to do the meditation and all that stuff to balance all that out, and hopefully maybe awaken a little bit of Kundalini energy for guidance,
Yes.
learn how to live. But yeah, I'd say, I mean, I feel like the answer isn't that interesting. It's really just diet and exercise. But my exercise is like, an ice bath is mixed in there. And then, I have different Kundalini practices, which which is very good for those who've never experienced Kundalini. We do pop-up workshops mixed in with sound healing and the breath work. And if you like the breath work, usually Kundalini resonates with you. It activates things in the body and gets you, it can get you a little high at the same time. So,
Yes.
so that's one of my other foundational practices is, and there's a million Kundalini Kriyas. So they're all different.
Releasing them feel good hormones that's already inside of us, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, so many of us, if not all of us, look outside of ourselves to feel good, not knowing that everything that we're looking for is inside of us, right? We just have to open our mind and our spirit enough to access it. Happiness, joy, abundance, all of these different things that we think is outside of us is right within, right? And we just have to access it and believe that we can tap into this. So really good stuff. You share so much of yourself today. What else would you like to tell us?
Those are the questions that I always have trouble with. One of the ones that are about myself, like, oh, so tell me about yourself. I'm like, I don't know, man. You feel like you're put on the spot. Yeah, I guess just to, I don't know, look out for us and look out for our events. We do the retreats are the best thing you can do, I think. We have a sauna event coming up where we'll do some breath work, and then we'll have a mobile sauna outside of the location, and you'll do ice, hot, back and forth for a while and rinse out your whole system. Aside from that, speaking about me, I guess I'm just a seeker. So I'm figuring it out. I don't want people to think that I have it figured all out either, because I'm going down this path, but I'm just like anyone else, fumbling through it, getting all these different things that the universe is throwing me and trying to juggle it all together. But I'm at a place where I'm trusting that process, and I'm trusting, the good, the bad, and everything that's coming along my way. And, the negative mind will pop up and say, like, what the hell are you doing? Go get a job, and I pull back and just say, like, okay, let's stay on this path. And I think more people can do that. And I think we're getting into a place where more of us are doing that. And that's a beautiful thing. That's the equal opposite energy to what we've been seeing in the world is, if this gets bigger, then the other thing has to get bigger as well. So there's I think there's like a little bit of a spiritual revival happening in a lot of different places, and you've probably seen it. You go to different places, like, oh shit, everyone's like doing this. Everyone's on the same page as me. We're all doing it. And so even as kind of negativity is going to challenge you, and this is a common trope in everyone's life, that the closer you get to your goal, the more obstacles are going to present themselves. So let's trust that. Let's trust that when we see that obstacle, we know we're going in the right direction, and we have a whole community that you can't even see that is trying to do the same thing as you, and we're all kind of working together. So yeah. But if you had any specific questions about me, I can answer those. But the broad ones, I'm like, I don't know, man.
No, you did amazing with that, right? And just to piggyback, it's just like this huge spiritual awakening that is happening right now, which is so exciting, right? Because I'm wondering, where are we about to elevate to? And so that's just, I guess we have to stay tuned, stay aligned, and stay true to ourselves. So
yeah, stay true to yourselves. We got to be careful. It's a huge responsibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I really appreciate, I'm humbled that you shared your morning with us and shared your knowledge with us. I'm going to have all of your information pinned underneath your video. You're going to send me events that'll be in the Philly and Bala Cynwyd area, so that we can all be aware and abreast and take on some of these opportunities that you present. Thank you so much. You have a phenomenal day, and we will chat soon.
All right. Yeah, it was nice meeting you, and hope to see you out sometime.
Thanks.
All right. Later.